Hi, fantasy book lovers, TGIF. This is Thank Gods It's Fantasy Podcast. We are Kayla, Veronica, and Brianna, three best friends who love talking about all things books, from the romance, the conflict, and of course, morally gray men. Every 2 weeks, we will be getting together to talk about our theories, opinions, and reviews of our current read. Please read along, join in, and be one of our book besties too.
Dearest gentle reader, welcome to our show. Thanks for joining us. In this episode, we'll be talking about Bridgerton Season 3, Episode 3 and 4. So before we start, we'd just like to make a little disclaimer that many of the things we talk about might be suitable for more mature audiences. While we're all adults here, explicit language or any of that content is not for you, then turn back while you still can. So, Episode 3, we are just finishing up the kiss. The sweet little kiss when when she says, "Just kiss me, I might die." A little dramatic, but
I
she might die
appreciate some drama.
tomorrow.
Okay, but did you guys think when it started out that what was happening was real, or did you know that it was a dream that Colin was having?
I didn't think it was real. I didn't know whose dream it was.
Yes.
True. Yes. Yes. I knew someone was dreaming, but I was like, which one of you is it?
Yeah, no,
But
that was kind of my thought too, especially because it got a little spicier in that version. I was like, oh, okay. Wow, they getting real into the other one they got into, but they got real into that one. And it was just funny to
Yeah.
because obviously we had just rewatched 1 and 2 pretty much before we did our podcast, and then we jumped right into 3. And so I was just like, oh my God, I get to experience this again? Okay, let's go. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for these 2 episodes.
it was good. It was a good start.
I climbed into bed. Obviously, we all binged it right when we got done recording our previous episode. And so, it's like 10 o'clock at night. At that point, I'm climbing in bed. Kyle's already asleep. And I'm like squealing to myself silently, watching it like, yes, let's go.
I know.
Love it.
It was so good. I really liked these 2 episodes. Things
I
really
know.
ramped.
Yeah, they did. Did you get the angst that you were looking for though? Between Colin or not? I don't know if angst is the word. You said you
because they're
wanted
friends.
more as far
I
as
definitely was more
between Lord
angst.
Ebling and yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we got more angst, especially from Colin, him just always staring at her, all the little
I
thoughts
mean,
he was having. I was like, okay, boy's obsessed after that kiss. That kiss knocked his fucking socks off.
yes. But he was also like the creeper in the corner just staring at her. I was like, bud, do something. Don't just sit over there staring
I
at her.
thought it was
And
so funny.
borderline creepy stare. It was like a nobody's around me. I'm being a stalker, just staring at her.
I
Like,
loved
come
it.
on.
I can
Ask her to
appreciate a
dance.
good across the room,
Uh-huh.
oh my God, what do I do? She already told me no, that we shouldn't continue our lessons. What do I
Yeah.
do? And then all of the whole what's appropriate kind of thing.
Yeah.
I liked it. Whatever. Stalk me, Colin. Fucking stalk. Especially now that I know he can sing too.
Ooh. True, very true. I just wish that he would have done something about it. Go
Sooner.
ask her to dance, cut in. That moment when he went up and tried to talk to her
Interrupted that. Uh-huh.
and then she had to go dance with Lord Debling. I was like, God, you were right there. Just
I know.
I know, but if he would have done it sooner, then the show would have been boring because then it would have been over already. So we can't get it all.
yeah.
No, we can't get it all. And truly, he wasn't trying to ruin her reputation anymore. He was trying to be respectful, especially after they had that talk under the tree, which loved that tree. That tree was stunning.
Yeah.
Just then close, just the 2 of them. I was like, okay, this
I know
is
they had a lot of alone time, the 2 of them, that I'm like, okay, all of this is very scandalous, you 2
I know.
canoodling under the tree.
I feel like Penn was so no, we can't meet anymore. We can't do this. So direct. And he was like, we can't. I'm not supposed to tell. But but
He's
I
like, but
wanna talk
why?
to you still. Like, he was so
Mhm.
torn about all of that because he did,
He
he wanted to
Yeah.
be
really wanted.
respectful.
He
Yeah, but
really
he
wanted to talk to
also
her. And I think
Yeah.
yes.
that if the conversation went differently under the tree, I think he would have told her then how he was feeling because he was already like so flustered and that was
Yeah,
like his first time to like really work up the courage to approach her about the whole thing because he hadn't
yeah,
talked to her in like a week because we're like a week after the kiss, right?
yeah,
And
Mhm.
so, I mean, I think he would have said something then if
yeah.
she didn't
I
If
don't
she
say,
had made it
"Don't talk anymore."
I don't know. I think he was realizing his feelings. I think he was very conflicted about the dreams he was having and confused why he was having them and not really understanding it quite. I really think that conversation that he had with his mom is when it like clicked for him and he knew like, "Oh, that's what I'm feeling. Now I'm feeling jealous because of Lord Debling." And I feel like that was a moment when he really knew. I think he was still kind of figuring it out under the tree of he was just thinking that he was having dirty dreams about a friend.
Yeah, and then I really think the jealousy of, Lord Debling and that going well really hit home too. Because I just remember when they had that conversation by the little dessert table, and she was, like, talking about how, he was appealing to look at and things are going well, and he was just like, "Oh," those gears were turning. He was like, "Oh, shit. Shit, I know this is what we wanted, but shit."
Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
Well,
Maybe it's not what I want.
well, and even in the first 2 episodes, whenever she was talking to a guy and kind of like when she started doing a little bit better, he was like cheering her on and was happy for her and would kind of smile and didn't look at it the way that he did in these episodes. Like it was a definite
Yeah.
shift. I mean, that kiss, yeah, it really did him in.
Okay, so in the first episode, after Colin has that interaction with his family, and he's like, "Well, you look like you've been up all night," and he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
That whole thing was so funny. "I slept no dreams. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Good for you." Like,
He's- I
"Why are
know
you telling us that?"
Benedict is so funny. But
Oh.
then we are reminded that Francesca is the sparkle for the queen, right? And
Mhm.
Mhm.
she is the queen's like focus right now. She wants to find her a great match because Lady Whistledown threw down and she cannot be the loser. So here we
No,
go.
she
Mhm.
cannot.
But can we talk about the Queen and Lady Danbury's relationship? Because when they were talking about like what suitors they were going to have for Francesca, they're and she's like, "Ugh, I can't even think about any of this stuff. I have an unwanted visitor here." And she says, "Do you wish your queen to banish this guest to the far reaches of this kingdom?" I'm like, damn, those are friendship goals right there. Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
Let me banish this unwanted visitor
I
from
don't
our
even
whole
care.
realm.
It doesn't matter
Yeah,
who it
I
is.
don't
I
even know who he is. I don't know the story, but if you want him banished, I will do it.
I'm rewatching Queen Charlotte just
Oh,
in the
mhm.
meantime to, bide our
Hold
time
you
until
over.
June 13th. And they really do have a very special relationship, but she was the first one there for her and she was honest with her.
Yeah.
She literally taught her about the birds and the bees before her and King
Yeah.
George
Mhm.
were together and drew her pictures. Like it is a really really special relationship. And she was like one of the only people that could be kind of frank with the queen too and kind of call her on her crap and kind of keep her in line. So
Mm.
I feel like she's always been that person to her. And I think she thrives on that because, she loves pushing buttons a little bit. So I think she likes a person that gives it back to her.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
But in that whole scene, you know how they have like the little different suitors on little like place cards or whatever, and
Yeah,
she's
they're
like,
throwing.
"Throw it like you mean it." But there's one card that Lady Danbury picks up and just tosses. Do you think that is um, Lord Kilmartin that she accidentally just threw off without mentioning?
Maybe because they definitely make no mention of him whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
Like, because they talk about
Mm.
I mean, they don't talk about a lot of suitors, but I mean, they mention Debling. Um, so it could be a fun little, like, we're not even gonna
Throwaway.
mention him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I kind of thought that they were looking at suitors from other countries because that's kind of her thing where she like gets higher ranking lords to
Yeah.
come in and whatnot. But you're right, they do talk about Lord Debling, so they are going through the Ton too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting thought.
Yeah, I'm just looking for
Maybe.
all the things. Of course, I only noticed this or thought about it on my second rewatch. So
I mean, we were too busy enjoying the first one.
I was too
Yeah,
busy enjoying the first one. Um,
eating it up.
Mhm.
and then poor Eloise and Penelope. So Eloise goes and visits with Penelope for the first time
Yeah.
just to check on her because after the whole kiss thing and she's been like found out by the time that Colin had been helping her find a husband, Lady Whistledown just destroyed her, or she
I
destroyed
know.
herself and
Yes.
secluded herself. And Eloise was like, "Are you okay?" Because a lot of things that
Yeah.
she said wasn't unnecessarily, but it's still sad to see that they still love each other, but it's still so hard for them to go back
Yeah.
to how it was before, right?
Yeah.
Like throughout the
Well, and
whole episode.
yeah, and I mean, it was so kind of Eloise to like come and check on her. And then Penn was just so quick to be like, well, do you want to come in and talk about some? Like, she was so ready to rekindle that if Eloise was more willing, and Eloise just still isn't quite there yet. I really do hope
Mhm.
in this second part, or at least in future seasons, they do rekindle to some degree because I really
Mhm.
do love their friendship. And I don't, I think it's not in this episode, it's the next episode. But Eloise finally even getting to like share her thoughts with Cressida about like why she thinks this whole marriage thing is stupid. And like Cressida's kind of half listening. I was like, Penelope would be listening to you. Like, I was just like, oh,
Uh-huh.
like I do think you have a decent friendship with Cressida. She was distracted. But I was just like, Penelope would have been like so in tune with what she was saying. Like, and I was just like so bummed that Cressida kind of let that moment like flounder or whatever. I was kind of bummed by that, but I was just like, oh, this is why you need Penn back. Like, Penn agrees with a lot of these things, even though
I
she's
don't
trying to get married. But
Do you think she agreed with Eloise, or do you think she just listened to Eloise and like let her rant? Because I think that Penn has kind of always she's always wanted to be a part of
yeah,
society and wanted to be like she's a romantic, you know what I mean? So she
yeah,
sees marriage as something desirable. She just didn't think that it was an option for her. So I feel like
yeah,
Whistledown was like her kind of
outlet.
Mhm. Totally. So I don't know that she, like, agreed with Eloise, but she definitely
I think she
would at least be
understood what she was.
listening.
Yes,
Yes. She, like, understood her for sure.
where
Yeah,
Cressida just dipped out.
I do think that Penelope and her being like the outcast, not really the outcast, but like the black sheep of the ton, and like not really
Yeah,
being like the cookie cutter girl that everyone looks for, where she's
Mhm.
not like super petite and she's not like
Mhm.
all about embroidery and stuff like that. She's very well
yeah,
read and she has
yeah.
like
Mhm.
she has like ideas and stuff like that. Things that guys didn't really
Mhm.
like think was attractive. Because when you're on the outside and you're looking in, you desperately want to be on the inside. So I think
Mhm.
that's probably has a lot to do with like who she is or who she wants to be. Because you always want the grass is always greener, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Until you're in it, and then you're like, "Fuck."
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Mean
You're
Girl.
like, "Now it's overwhelming."
But speaking of
Mhm.
Cressida and Penelope, so they both are seeking the attentions of Lord Debling because Lord Debling has money and he's got lots
Mhm.
of land and he's got lots of whatever is rankings and whatever. So Cressida needs him for that because daddy said, I'm going to cut your allowance in half. If you don't get married, you've been out here for too long. This is your job. This is your duty as my daughter. Get
Yeah,
it done. And then Penelope's like, I just need a husband. So I can get out of this house and not be under the control of my parents. But I think it's very
Yeah.
funny how um, kind of forward Cressida is. She's like, I prefer to be predator versus prey. And I'm like, oh, dang,
I am
girl.
not I'm not surprised by that at all. I feel like she
that's
screams
her.
that. Mhm.
Well, and I mean,
Totally.
I think they've even talked about how she's too blunt for men. Like, that's been kind of
Mhm.
her issue up to this point. And
Yeah.
thankfully, Lord Debling is one who takes that a lot more in stride. So, really,
Yeah.
either pairing could work out for him because he seems to appreciate someone who is just like very forward. But I don't know. I really liked him in episode 3 and like getting to know him. I thought it was so funny that the scandal was he was a vegetarian and loved animals. I died. I was like, "Oh my god, he doesn't eat animals. How dare he?" Which of the time obviously was a big, snafu, and now it's just
Mhm.
like half the people are vegan, vegetarian. Like we got
Yeah.
so many different eating things now that it's just so funny that like to look at that in such a scandalous way. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god, y'all are funny."
I know. I thought it was fun. And then when they were at the balloon festival, I don't remember if that was the third
Mhm.
Mhm.
episode or the fourth episode,
I
but
don't
they're
remember.
talking about like birds and stuff, right? The great auk, and that was like what his passion is right now because he's trying to save it from extinction. But okay, this is where my ADD comes in because they're talking about the bird. Now I'm going back to Francesca where they're like, "Oh yeah, all the lower ranking lords like to show off their feathers first and then the higher ranking ones do afterwards." Why is there so much truth in this? I feel like this is always a thing where like, the people who have less to lose are more willing to
Are more
like
willing.
put themselves forward than people who have more to
Mm.
lose. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that spoke a lot of truth to me. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they're really good about playing into like true lessons, especially of society. So I think they
Yeah.
do a good way, like job of showing that in these moments for sure.
Mhm. But then when Penelope
I
is at that first ball in the 3rd episode and she tries to, like, make her rounds after the whole scandal that goes down and she's, like, called out and shut down immediately and her little heart just breaks.
Oh my
Ugh,
god, that was hard to watch. Especially a second time. I was like, "Man, they were so mean. Leave her alone. She's trying so hard to like try and flirt," and which she was doing a much better job. Like she really was treading so lightly. And they were
mhm.
just like, "What? You need another person to like help you get a husband?" I was like, "Oh my god, y'all are
Rude.
assholes. You don't want them
those
anyway. Go find somebody else."
those 3 guys are it's like 2 or 3 guys. They suck.
Yes.
They're the
Mhm.
worst.
Yeah.
But when there are the balloon party is in the 3rd episode. I was having like the secondhand embarrassment or whatever so bad for Pen when she's like, I too like the outdoors. I like grass. And he's like, what do you like about grass? And she was like, it's green.
Green.
I was like, what
I
is she doing? I was like
died.
trembling, like, no, I hate it.
Can
Oh
you
my God.
imagine trying to act that out? And like I can only imagine the actress who plays Eloise, who's just like probably trying so hard not to just start hysterically laughing because there's just no way. I'd be like, this is the funniest thing I've ever witnessed in my life, even though I know the script. That would just be such an awkward moment to watch. And
Uh-huh.
she plays it so well.
So
Like the
well.
awkward pauses, the like looking off in the like it was just so like the timing was well done.
When she
I
starts to
died.
fan herself, she's like, "Oh my god. Please let this stop. I
Not
can't be here
not
anymore."
the fan again. Make
I
we can't
died.
the fans, the anxiety fans is what we're gonna start
Yes.
calling them. A part of what was so hard to watch about it for me wasn't even the fact that, like, yes, it was embarrassing. The things she was saying were just so no. But it was the fact that she like was reverting back to not being who she is. That was
Yeah.
hard to watch. I was like, no, Penn, don't do it. He liked you so much for just who you
Mhm.
are. And
I
Mhm.
I
know.
mean, I think Cressida was the biggest part of that is she just
Yes.
felt, that she was needing to compete, do whatever
Yeah.
it takes to compete and whatnot. But I'm
Mhm.
glad that she came back later and remedied that because
Yes.
I mean, I think and he definitely did too, because he was definitely a little put off by that.
Yeah, no, when she was like, "I don't like the outdoors, actually. So sorry. That was not me.
Yeah,
I don't I'm not that." He really
yeah.
appreciated that. He was like, "No, like
Mhm,
that's what I liked about I like that you're different. I
mhm,
don't need a carbon copy of myself." Like there was just a lot of
mm-mm.
moments where I really enjoyed him. It gets a little knocked in the fourth
Mhm.
episode for me, but in the third episode I was like really warming up to him. I was like, okay, like I like you. You could work. I know you're not who you're going to end up with, but you could work. Like this could be okay.
Yeah.
And truly, do you think, sorry, jumping ahead, do you
That's
think he's
okay.
going to end up with Cressida? I really feel like that is kind of the setup, especially because I think she would benefit from someone being gone for like 3 years. Like, I think that's a prime setup for her. And I just
Yeah.
think he's going to, now that, Penn's not going to be an option, I think he's going to transition right to Cressida, and that's going to work out beautifully for her, quite
I think
frankly,
so.
even
I
though
mean,
they have nothing in
if
common.
Cressida doesn't end up with Eloise, then yes.
I don't think
Right?
that's not part of the books, but I know that the books are or not. The show is more progressive than
Yes.
the
They're not
show.
changing main pairings. Shonda Rhimes
Yeah.
did say they're not going to change any main pairings. But I mean, they did have a lot of like chemistry between them. Like they had a lot of moments, and even Kyle was watching it with me and was like, so like when are they gonna get together? When they were sitting there talking, watching them I think in the fourth episode, watching them dance, and the two of them were off to the side talking.
Mhm.
He was like, so are they a couple? I was like, no, they're not. They're just friends. But
I think it's more like whenever like two girlfriends are like hanging out so much and everyone's like, are they a couple? Do they like each
Yeah.
other? Because there is such good chemistry within like good best girlfriends
Friendships. Yeah.
that sometimes it gets mistaken for that because you're right.
do
There's
people think
good
that about
chemistry.
us?
I don't think so.
Did they also be
I don't think so
lovers?
either.
I don't
Can
think
you
anyone thinks that.
I would die.
We don't hang out
guess.
enough outside of work to
I
be
mean,
mistaken for a
not of
couple.
late. I'm sure
We
if we drink
used
enough,
to.
but
I
yeah.
know. I know. But then even when we did hang out, it was still in the privacy of our own homes. So
Yeah.
who
We
knows?
don't advertise our love.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious at work, but when we actually
I
worked
mean,
together.
yes. I mean, again, that's got to happen. So,
Did you guys find it a coincidence or kind of cute that you know how like one of the lessons that Colin gave Penelope, he's like, okay, let's pretend this is a ball and like this is where the mamas are and then this is the lemonade table and this is where you're gonna start your conversation. And that's actually where she met Lord Debling, was at the lemonade table.
Mm-hmm.
I
in a
thought it
little
was so
corner.
cute. And then when Penelope goes and tells Colin the little update she gives him at the little treat tent, and she's like, "Your lessons worked. Lord Debling has
I
shown
know.
interest in me." I'm like, "Oh my god, girl! Yes, I know."
She was so proud. It was such a cute moment. Like, again, he was sad, but I just thought it was so endearing. She's like, well, I still got to tell him, like, it's working. Like, even though
Yeah,
she wanted no more lessons, she was like,
Mm-hmm.
but also, it's, it worked. And I need to tell you that, like, A+ on the teaching.
but then
I
he could
mean,
not
it's
take
not like
his
he
eye.
was.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it's not like he was focused. He was watching her lick that cupcake off her fingers the whole time.
I was dead.
it was good. It was
Dead.
shot very well. The way that they did that slow motion camera
Yep.
stuff, man, making like a
Well, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like
look so
too
good.
overdone. Yeah, it
No,
was like just enough to be like, oh, but not too overplayed because they could really have overplayed it if they
yeah.
wanted to. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just enough to be like, all right.
Yeah.
And then, but then
Okay.
he licks his fingers later too, doesn't he? I mean, not in front of her, but because he eats something. And
Which
because I feel like a
fingers?
lot of people keep
Yeah.
well, and that's what they've made jokes like, why didn't he do this after the carriage ride? And I was like, oh my god, everyone is
Oh.
getting
I
oh
never
my
even like
god.
pick up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of memes and shit that keep
Oh, I
popping
know.
up on everything because obviously we've been deep in Bridgerton lately. And so a lot of people have made that comment, and I'm just like, okay,
Mhm.
everyone. Because
Dirties.
there's
You dirties.
also, I don't know if you've
Dirty
seen this,
birds.
the finger debacle where when he fixes her dress, he doesn't use these two fingers. He uses his third and fourth finger to pull it up
No,
because
he
these
uses
were the
his
ones.
thumb.
No, it's like if you watch, but he does not use these two fingers at any point. And it was funny because I watched an interview of them and she was like, there's this whole discussion on the fact you didn't use these two fingers. Was that intentional? And he was like, yeah.
No, I
And she was like,
heard
what?
no.
No, he said yeah in
Um,
that one. But I wonder if he was just like playing it up, you know, like it could have not been. And he was just saying it for
Oh.
the camera.
I mean, this is jumping way ahead, obviously, because we will probably talk all about the carriage scene. But
Oh,
did you
for
guys
sure.
watch the interview where they were talking about the fact that since they were in that carriage, they couldn't hear anything. So the director kept yelling "cut," and they just kept going at it and like an inordinately a long amount of time. They're just going at it in there until she finally like stopped. It was like, oh yeah. Yes.
I love they're doing such a good job with all the interview. Like
Mhm.
all of those tidbits. I mean, we love the idea of people really being together in real life. So playing into that speaks to I feel like most of our souls were like, "Yes, I love the scandal. Oh, you guys were just so enraptured in it you couldn't even
Yep.
stop what you were doing. Oh
I
no."
love it. I love
It
it.
was
Same.
good.
Also love it.
Yeah.
They're just so cute together in all of their interviews. I die every single time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the Featherington
Mm.
sisters are trying to get pregnant.
Oh
Yes,
my god, that's
they
what I
are.
was gonna say. They
Ah,
are killing me.
I
I
love them.
can't. I'm They are exactly what I need for like comedic relief through all
Yes.
of this because they're cracking me up.
Mhm.
My god. Yeah,
Do
the
you feel like
tonic.
this Do you feel like this is I think she's the older sister, is actually
Prudence.
starting to like her husband?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Was it the tonic? And she's just like more, or is
I
I
don't
it?
don't know
know,
because they
'cause
like
it was like
snuck behind the
this, I feel
tent
like.
and like were
Yeah,
gonna
but she really
canoodle.
didn't acted that into it though. Like, I just remember her face being like, "Okay, like, let's kiss." I think she is gonna continue to warm up to him. I think there will be love. I mean, he's so obsessed with her, like, you hope for his
See,
sake that he kinda likes
I
her,
think
she
she
kinda
liked
likes
it
him.
more. I think she liked it more than she did in the past 2 episodes,
Yes.
where
she
she
was
looked
like
kinda like,
smiling at him.
mhm,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I felt like during that scene she seemed way more into it than she had yet.
any other
Previously.
time. Even, like,
Mhm.
when their little intimate scene when he was, like, trying to, like, lean up over her and she's like, "Get away, my hair, like, calm
Yeah.
down."
Yeah.
I think they'll do something that works for them. It may not it'll again, I think it'll be a love that grows. It was not an immediate love by any
No.
means.
It's
But
gonna
I
be a
do
grower, not a shower? Is that
It'll
what
be a
you're
grower.
saying?
It'll be a
Whoa,
grower for sure.
whoa.
Their love
But
will be a
also,
grower?
I died when I think it was it Philip? I can't remember which one. Was like, I just don't think I'll have a bump when I'm pregnant. And they're they're like, well, it's not because you get fat. Like the baby, like they're like trying to get her to understand. And then she's like, what? Like,
There's
it's
a
the baby and the baby's limbs. And her mom just looks at her like, oh my God.
well,
I
sh
really
Yeah.
raised someone who's blissfully unaware of every
Yeah.
single part of it.
I mean, that's what you
Yeah.
wanted, right? You didn't want your girls to know how babies were made, and she did not know what to insert what or that how babies come. They just come from little golden storks
I
and
I know, I know. She's like, hopefully your son's delivered by a stork. I died. I was like, wow, we're really still gonna go into this blind. Like, I can't wait till she's trying to push this baby out and is like, what is happening? Like, oh,
Mhm.
poor
Yeah,
girl.
that's what I was thinking. Like during delivery, she's in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Oh,
Poor
for
Not gonna be
sure.
good.
But isn't it crazy how, like, even back in the 1800s, I'm sure it went far before the 1800s, how there were always like wives' tales and like potions that you could drink that people thought or that women thought would help you make your heir. And we still do that
Yeah.
now, where you got to check
Yep.
the pH of this and you got to do it 3 days before that. And
Mhm.
it's,
This you have a boy.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that they still
Both
kind of
have girls.
incorporated that.
I will die if they both have girls.
Yeah. Well,
And then
because then
Penelope
I
has
was
the
thinking
boy.
about it. But if Penelope has the boy, well, I guess he wouldn't. Because I was trying to think
Like, how
about
does
that. Like
that work?
he'd be a Bridgerton, but I guess he wouldn't be like Lord Bridgerton because that would be from the Viscount's line, right? So then their son would be Lord Featherington,
Yep.
even though he's a Bridgerton.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because the Lord part of it is the estate that you take care of, and then your last name is different. So, like, John Sterling is Lord Kilmartin, and his last name is not Kilmartin; it's Sterling.
yeah, he's
So
Earl of
that's why.
Kilmartin. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got it.
okay, that makes sense. Because I
Interesting.
was getting a headache trying to think about that earlier. I was like, wait, so if Penn has a boy. How is this going to work? Are they going to be a
How does
Featherington or are they going to be a Bridgerton?
No,
technically a Bridgerton, just a lord of
Lord of
Featherington.
Featherington. Yeah.
I totally looked up the like hierarchy
Mm-hmm.
because like I kind of forgot how the British hierarchies work of like Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, Baron is how it goes. But I
Okay.
forgot that. So whenever they're saying Earl of Kilmartin or whatever, I was like, so
Is that
how
good?
high up in society does that make him? You know?
I
Like how good of a catch is this? Is kind of what I was trying
yes.
to think of. But yeah. Now
Mm-hmm.
I know. And now you all know too. That's the order.
That is helpful because
It
I
is
really
because
kept being like, I don't remember what this means.
you got money, you don't
Yeah.
work. And that's the other thing that came up on this whole like episode is that if you were a lord and you had money, you did not work. So the Mondriches were having a really hard
So
time with
weird.
this. I know. I mean, like you could
How do you
own things,
maintain your
which
money? Is it
you
like,
like investments and just wealth that's been passed
and
down.
that's it?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of wealth.
I don't got that kind of wealth.
I know. Where's my wealth? Bring it
Well,
down to me.
I think it's also a part of it is you're a landowner. So that's supposed to be your job because for most of these people, it's not just like their specific land that they're running, it's other people's livelihood. So it's towns and farmers and
Yeah.
whatever, all
So they're
these
getting their
things that
wealth
they're
that way.
overseeing. And so I feel like that's kind of supposed to be their job rather than like manual labor, if you
Yeah.
will. You know, they're like
Mm-hmm.
supposed to have someone do that for you, I think. Like, are they
Yes.
wanting him to sell it or do they want him to just have someone run it for him?
So
I feel like it's that one.
yeah, like they don't
Mm-hmm.
want him to bartend. They want him to own it from behind, but he's supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
visiting and not working and serving
Okay.
That's
the
the
people
vibe
who
I
go
got as
there.
well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's his
I
passion,
wonder
like,
if
right? That's what he earned all his money
I know.
boxing and doing. And then they're all of a sudden telling
mm-hmm.
him, oh, you have all this money, you can do whatever you want. But there's still a caveat. You can't do whatever you want because you can't work.
Yeah.
Just such a random thing to be like so weird about. And I felt like he was actually doing pretty well in society. Like he was meeting guys, like
Yep.
going out for like planning to go out for a hunt. Like he really
Mm-hmm.
was doing pretty well. It's truly just the work thing that he's got to be willing to let go of, which I do think his wife is going to help push him in that direction, but I think it's going to be
Yeah.
a struggle for him for sure.
There'll definitely be some fights, I think,
Yeah.
about it later on, like coming up,
Yeah.
because she's
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know, she's
Yeah.
trying to
She's
get
doing okay with
acclimated
that
to it.
transition.
Yeah. And
Oh,
he's,
which her glow up. Oh, I am
yes,
so glad she got new dresses. They look so good on her. I was like, yes, dress that figure.
she looks
Yep.
so good.
So
Yep.
good.
Get out of here.
I
She
Oh,
mean,
looks,
they both do. Like he looks very good dressed up in his like he has like the big shoulders and everything to wear a
mhm.
suit really
mhm.
nicely. So I feel like they are like a very striking couple
Yes,
together.
Yeah, no,
absolutely. I
Um,
agree.
do you guys think that Benedict's new fling is it Tilly?
Tilly. Mm-hmm.
Tilly?
Tilly
Um,
Arnold.
do you think that that's gonna be his person or like because I don't know anything about Benedict's story. I don't
Yeah.
know who he ends up with. I'm wondering if this is just going to be a little fling. Like, is this going to be someone who he seems pretty attached already. So I'm
Yeah.
like, is she gonna break his heart? What's gonna happen?
I was gonna say, I just get the vibe from her he's a welcome distraction. I don't necessarily get the vibe that she wants a marriage anytime soon. So
No.
for me, I think it could be even this like massive infatuation on his part where he has a hard time letting go of
Yeah.
her when he
Yeah.
finally does meet
That'd be a
whoever
good
he's supposed
story.
to end up with. But I
Mhm.
really don't think that's his end goal yet. I don't know that I mean, we may have met her, but I don't know that it's her. Like, and not that
Mm-mm.
I'm opposed to that. I am here for like, let's meet a widow. Like, that's totally fine. We don't have to be a young eligible virgin. Like, that does not
Yep.
have to be the way. But
Well, and
I wasn't quite getting that vibe from her.
that feels more like him anyway. He's always liked
Agreed.
culture, art, a little more maturity
Experience.
in that way, experience, things like that. So she does seem like someone that would be very intriguing to him. So I get it. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel like she's going to wreck him a little bit.
Maybe.
I can see it.
I think it'd
Mhm.
be a
Yeah.
great story though. And
Yeah,
I
for
don't think he's
sure.
ever called
And
on anyone before. I don't think he's brought anyone flowers before, and he definitely brought her some flowers. So
Which I
and
loved
he
that, like,
got a lot out of those flowers.
yes, he did. And I also love that he met her by happenstance because he was avoiding the other girl and her
no,
mom. I
Yeah.
died. I was like, that's a funny kismet type thing to like, oh, let me accidentally run into this other woman that I have way more interest in
uh huh.
and
Yep.
sling it up with. But yeah, no, I like their little fling right now. I think it's fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely don't know that it's end goals.
I know because he met her at the Hawkins balloon festival thing, right? Like where they're
Yeah.
introducing the balloon. But that is
Mhm.
when Penelope almost gets smooshed by the
The
balloon
balloon.
basket.
And Colin
Yep.
saves her with all the other men.
Can
Him in
I
his
just
rolled up
yes, the
sleeves.
sleeves. I love a good forearm. Roll up some
Mm.
sleeves, show them to me.
Yep.
I know
Mm.
they definitely played up his look for that moment. That is for certain. But also, I was very impressed by when he like came up in not Colin, but Lord
Lord
Debling
Debling.
fr- casually rolled up and slid to cover her. First off, that was a very impressive slide. As someone who has played softball fatch, like I was very impressed by just the level of slide. Like I wanted to almost rewatch it because I was just like, man, that was well done. He didn't look like because you can fucking plop doing that. And it was
Yeah.
just the most elegant. Let me just slide in here. I don't know, it was kind of hot. I was like, all right,
That's
y'all
what I'm saying.
competing
Like
right now. I see it.
Colin stopped the balloon, but he was not the one that put his entire body on top of Penn.
I
That was Lord
it was a good
Debling.
moment. I really did
Mhm.
appreciate that.
Yes.
But then freaking Cressida
I
breaking
know.
or hurting her ankle, whatever. I was like, girl, stop it. But then she could dance later. I was like, you were so
I
full of
I know.
shit,
know
ma'am.
that
It
part.
hurts
I
a
was
great
like,
deal,
"Girl,
but it
can
won't
we?"
stop me from dancing. Does it
Bitch, please.
though?
And
You
Eloise is just
know,
like, what the fuck?
I I'm telling you, Eloise is my person. I love her. She's
I
so
know.
funny. So
She
Mhm.
was definitely who
after,
I'd want to befriend
you
in this
know,
whole series,
well,
for
she loves
sure.
books.
Mhm.
Please.
I know.
So at the Hawkins, after the Hawkins Balloon Festival, they have the Hawkins Ball. And can we just talk about Violet's meet cute with Marcus Anderson?
I liked it a lot. I
They're
think they're really
cute.
cute.
I think so
I'm here
too.
for it. I do think it's gonna become more scandalous. I feel like in part two, because clearly there's something going on with him that we are not privy to yet. But I've really liked them. I think they're very
Do you
cute.
think
I
Violet's
hope
garden is still blooming? Does it need
Did you see the
watering?
way? Did
I
you
think
see the
she's
way?
rattled. She's rattled.
Yes. Yes. Well, the other meme that keeps killing me is the way she watched oh god, what's his name? The one that's pursuing Francesca.
Lord
Like
Lord
who's
Samadani.
been
Samadani?
thank you. That was not coming to me. There's like a meme of her intently watching as he eats his little pastry. And y'all, her face was just like enraptured by the way he was eating this pastry. And I died. I was like, because they're like, oh, okay. Like, well, you really watching there? And I was just like, I died. I was like, that's just such a funny thing to say. Because of course he's so young and like she's really just setting him up with her daughter. But her look, I will have to send it to you because it's such a good
Yeah, I've
moment.
not seen
Oh
that
my
one because
god.
I
Yeah,
just
you're gonna
thought
have to
she
send
was
that to us.
I thought she was
I
just making sure that the pastry
died.
actually was to his liking since they got the recipe from his
Yes.
cook.
And in
Yes.
the show, it's actually a pretty quick moment because when I was rewatching today, I was like trying to see. No, they freaking froze that moment clearly because I was like, man, that was like pretty quick. Like you don't really notice it so much. Nah, in the meme, it was very, very funny. I died. I will
So
show.
funny.
So funny. So speaking of Lord Samadani, he, whatever, is very Francesca doesn't mind him until he mentions that there's lots of kids in his family too. And she's like, oh, don't you find it lonely sometimes with that many kids? He's like, no, I actually love it. I want to have 8 kids of my own. And you could see right then and there, she's like, oh, just
Yeah, she
Immediately
deflated.
shut down.
very, very sad in that moment.
Yeah.
She played that really well though, like where you could just see like shut down. I'm
Mhm.
not into this anymore, but
Mm-mm.
I'll, grin and bear it for the time being. But
Mhm.
she was not into him after that at all. She's like, I'm
Nope.
not trying to pop out 7 babies of my own. Thank you.
She's like, it's too much. I already feel so alone. Why would I
I know.
repopulate my house with more children and feel more alone and all
I
of
She just
that?
wants
know. I
silence.
really love
And so she
Silence and
goes and
music.
looks for it. Yeah, she goes and finds it outside because she excuses herself
I love that
after
moment.
after that bomb has been dropped. And she just goes out there and he's like, hi, Lord. He didn't even get introduced yet. And he's like, can I
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
join you? And she's like, oh, okay. And they just stare out into nothing and
Yeah.
Well,
enjoy
and he
the
even makes
feast.
a comment about like needing some silence also or something. And I was just like, they really just understand each other in their minimal, basically no conversation. They understand each other
Yep.
on such a weirdly deep level.
Yep.
I died when he visited and like called on her, even though they
Yeah.
hadn't had a formal introduction and he like still found her, which we love that.
Mhm.
And then they were just sitting there and Eloise was just like, oh my God, she's genius. She doesn't even have to talk, and he's enraptured by her. I died.
She's like, I thought that you had to do this and to do that, but you can just sit there and say nothing. Hmm.
It was
Well,
the best moment.
and Francesca was just so happy.
Happy.
Like
Hmm.
so content and happy when he showed up, like comparatively. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. And can we just talk about the fact that Hyacinth puts her foot in her mouth all the time? Hi, Lord Samadani, we've made this food for you. And they're all like, no, that's not him. Damn it,
I know, because
Hyacinth.
she's just not out yet. Like, she doesn't
I know,
know.
but she cracks me up. She's so funny.
She is very funny.
Have you guys seen the little clip of Hyacinth's
Hyacinth?
predictions? Uh-huh. Like in every episode, she mentions a name, and that person is the person that the main character marries.
Oh.
What?
So like in episode or the season 1, she's like, well, what about the Duke? And then it ends up being the Duke. And then in season 2, she's like, well, what about so and so's sister? And it ends up being Kate. And then in this one, she's like, well,
Oh.
how's Penelope? And look it.
Oh.
So
That's a fun little like Easter egg type
yeah.
situation.
What?
Oh, I love that. Shonda Rhimes would think of something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Creative
Yeah.
genius as she is.
She
Yeah.
she really is. She knows how to get all these
She
little
really
eggs in
does.
there. It was kind of not sad, but when Cressida and Penelope saw Lord Devling at the ball or at the Hawkins ball or whatever, and then they both like arrow
Beeline.
straight to him, and then obviously Cressida wins, and then Penelope gets to hang back, and then this is when he goes and tries to get her some lemonade, and this is when Penelope's like, I'm so sorry. I just want to say that it's not
Yes.
really me. And then
Mhm.
he gives Cressida's lemonade to Penelope. And I'm like, oh. And she's just watching. She's just watching from across the room.
Those Mhm. And she's like, "You
Mhm.
you think he'll come back, right?" And Eloise is just like,
She just keeps
"Uh-huh.
saying, "He's gonna be right back. I know he's gonna be right back." It's like,
No, girl.
Girl, I
He
don't think
already
he's
gave
gonna
your
be right
lemonade to
"He
back."
ain't coming
somebody
back.
else.
He
Well, and
ain't
then he
coming back.
danced
You're
with Penn too, didn't he? Like
Mhm.
It was just
I
hard
know,
to watch that for sure.
well, because I mean, even though Cressida's not always the most redeeming, I really did feel for her, like, she really does have a lot of pressure between her family, and then,
Hmm.
clearly, even though she said she set her sights on him, it was really her mom that was like, "This would be a good match for you. He has a large estate. This is the one." And
And
she's just
he's
like,
gonna marry
Mhm.
this year or this season. Yeah.
her yeah, so I just felt bad for her because she just had so much pressure to try and get him to show up, and then, of course, when she gets called on by Eloise and not him, uh,
Oh my
so
gosh, I know.
sad. Well, that whole thing made me feel sad
Hmm.
because it's so like, because clearly Eloise went and visited Penn all that, like, they were so used to that back and forth, and no one really thought anything of it. But the audacity of Eloise coming during calling hour was like this whole thing in
Yeah,
that, like,
because there could be a suitor at the door, and she's just taking up that time, and you just deterred someone
and
from
God
coming.
forbid you just say, "Oh, a caller's here," and she leaves. Like, what's the hang up here? Like, I just thought it was the dumbest thing.
Hmm.
That's
Mhm.
just me. Also, I just don't
Yeah.
understand her dad's beef with Eloise. Like, I thought that was
Mm-mm.
interesting that, like, I don't know if it's just because she also hasn't been able to find a suitor and that's why he was weird about her. Cause really, the Bridgerton family is a pretty wealthy, well known family. That's not necessarily like, oh God, you're hanging out with a Bridgerton. Like, that's usually a pretty high regard. They're doing well
Yeah.
for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I
just
think
interesting that he was so anti Eloise,
I don't know
also.
if it was anti-Eloise. I think that he probably just noticed that it was always her that she was hanging out with and like distracting her from her end goal, which was just supposed to be
Gotcha.
getting a
Mhm.
husband. I'm hoping that's more it instead of it like being something of her character because that would just be sad. But
I
yeah,
agree.
Yeah.
It was just the way he talked about her, like, that Bridgerton girl. I was like, excuse you, sir?
yeah.
No, no. Don't
Well,
talk
and
about her
then
Those
like
rich lords.
yeah,
that.
well, and
Really,
then
these stupid men.
they put it out there that they're gonna take her choice from her soon, and they're just gonna marry her off next. So,
Ugh,
I think
Yeah.
that more than anything is what's driving her because she will have no
yeah,
choice, and it'll probably be to some, like, 80-year-old dude, like Lady Danbury was
yeah,
with a very, very old man, so, like, I
Yeah.
think
yeah.
that that's a
I
big
was
fear
gonna
for her.
say where, like, Debling at least is a relatively attractive man who leaves the home all the time. Like, that's,
Mhm.
again, ideal for her, quite frankly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
And she'll get a nice little allowance and hopefully not buy furs and stuff with it. I was
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh,
"Oh
she's like, "I like
god."
animals." I like the
I like
pets.
furs. Maybe don't say that. Maybe don't say that to him.
Can you
Eloise was really
imagine?
trying to help her out, and she was just like, "Girl, why this one?"
That's not the way. I know. She's like, "Are you sure?" But then she was also like, "Are you sure?" I saw Penelope talking to him too. So, are you
I
sure?
know. I know.
Sure.
She was really looking out for Penn a little bit still
Mhm.
too. I did
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So in episode 4, Lord Debling
Mhm.
calls on Penelope for the first time, and he brings her a plant, and I love that it's a plant and not cut flowers because plant mama's right here. Here we go.
I
Mhm.
know. I loved that so like, I think if I had a caller, that would be a way to win me over. Bring me a
Mhm.
plant.
Bring me a plant
You
or
got it.
food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
bring
either
me
one of those.
food, not plants. I kill plants. Veronica and I are the most opposite. She's like flourishing all these beautiful plants, and I'm just killing them left and right. Like, I can't keep a plant alive to save my life.
That's
You're
not
like, "But you know what I can do? I can eat, so bring me some food, that I can do."
I want both.
That is true.
Plants.
Yeah,
and
honestly, happily would take both of those options.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I just love her sister's reactions to the fact she has a caller also. They're just like, "I'm sorry, what's happening?" And they're all, like, peeking in through the door.
When they were
Oh, yeah.
dancing and she was like, "Am I hallucinating right now?" I was like, "You're horrible.
I
Horrible."
know. They're so mean to her.
But
So
I
mean.
love the attention to detail Lord Debling actually gives to Penelope because he's like, "Oh, is that the window that you sit by all the time or whatever?" And then the mom's like, "Oh yeah, you finally pulled her into the actual room instead of sitting by the window." And he's like, "What is it about the window that is it the comfortable
Mhm.
cushion that's on there?" She's like, "No, I used to like the view, but I've gotten rather tired of it." And I was like, "Ooh, she got tired of
I
calling."
know, but that's what does her dirty later.
Bird.
I
I
I
loved the
know.
know.
foresight of that moment.
The
Like, that
wraparound.
was
That came Mhm.
well, and
That
it really just shows how aware Debling is of things and, like,
No.
how much he pays attention.
'Cause he
He's a
really
very
is
intuitive man.
life, right? He really is looking for a partner in his life, not necessarily like a love match or anything, but someone that will still stay
Yes.
dedicated to him while he's gone, who's very independent, who's fulfilled in her
Mhm.
own life that he doesn't have to give her too much attention, that she'll still be happy. And so I love that he wants to know what their interests are and that they are
Yeah,
happy doing like, being okay by themselves because he did make
yeah,
it very clear that he's gonna be gone for years at a time
Mhm.
sometimes. So, I thought that was kinda cool.
yeah.
Mhm.
Someone who's not impressed with their visitor, Lady Danbury and Marcus, I wanna know, like, what happened. What was the falling out between the brother and sister?
Clearly, there was a falling out.
I hope
She
it's
ke
not something, like, really bad. I don't know. I don't feel like I feel like it's gonna be something significant for Lady Danbury to feel that much about it. But then I'm, like, worried about the whole Violet thing. So I hope that it isn't anything, like, significant. It's something they can get over if he's actually gonna be, like, a love
I
interest of Violet's. But also, Lady Danbury slept with
Yes!
Violet's dad.
Yes!
So, get it, girl!
That's what I'm saying.
yes. Yeah, but, I mean, can you blame her? She was married to that old gross man. I wonder because she makes a lot of comments about him getting ladies and being a rake and, like, things like that. I wonder if he just, like, was stepping out pretty frequently early on maybe in his marriage. I know he said it eventually became someone he loved, but maybe initially he was a little bit of a dirty bird of some I don't know. I'm just curious if that plays into it at all or she just thinks that's like a shitty quality he has and she just keeps mentioning that and it's
Mhm.
has nothing to do with her falling out, but she just made a lot of comments about entertaining ladies and all of these things. So
Well,
I don't
maybe that was
know.
during his grieving period too. Maybe he just went out and, like, that's all he did for the last however many years since his wife died, and she got sick of it. So that could be it too, where she's
Yeah,
just
because he
like,
did mention that the reason why he was back in London was because there was not a lot of people at his house and not a lot of ladies at his house, so that's why
mhm,
he came back. So clearly he's here for the ladies. I don't know what he wants to do
Yes.
with the ladies or what his
I mean, he's looking for a love match now.
I mean, that's what he says, but is he really? Like, is it just the
I hope
game
so. I want that for
for Violet?
Violet.
I want it for
Yeah.
Violet, but I don't want her feelings to get, you know, all
No,
fucked.
I agree, like, but that's why I'm saying I
mhm,
want him to have good intention because I like how they're playing into this. I just
Mhm.
they have really good like, their banter so far has been really good. I'm very
mhm,
intrigued by the idea of them, and I'll be a little bummed if he, like, breaks her heart.
mhm.
Mhm.
I feel protective of Violet, like, I just want the best for her, she's just the sweetest.
Oh my gosh, I feel the same way also since rewatching Queen Charlotte. She's just a good person, and she came
I
from, like, a
know.
really shitty mom, and her dad was just so fantastic, and, like,
Mhm.
the entire time when they're going through all the race issues and whatnot during the great experiment, she's just like, "What do you mean, dad? Like, they're a lord, and they have more money than us, so really, should be invited before we should even be invited," and her mom's, like, appalled, and I'm just like, "God, you are like the epitome of just like goodness in innocence." and not being like
Mhm.
tainted by society. And I just loved it so much. I was like, yes,
Yeah.
you are who are going to pave the way for the great experiment to be successful. But I just love that. And I feel like she has instilled that so heavily into her own children. And that's why they are good people and they're actually close. And she doesn't hold any of
Yeah.
those weird rules with her family, like that the younger kids can't eat at dinner with them or can't be at the table or any of those things. Like they are a little bit different in the way that they handle their family, but
Yeah.
I love that. And it's all, I feel like a lot of it is because of her.
Well,
Mhm.
and it was also refreshing to see even how she responded when Francesca wanted to leave the ball abruptly. She was just like, "Okay, let's get your brother." Like, even though she was very clearly in the middle of something and society would probably frown upon it, she was like, "If that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do." Like, she's just so good about doing what her children need her to do, and I just love her. She's such a good mom. Like, she has really good
Rewatching,
mom moments.
yeah,
In it, like, in this
in
one.
this one specifically, rewatching that conversation that she has with Colin when he's like, "So what is it that you want for Francesca to find?"
Yeah.
And that's what you wanted in your relationship. And well, don't you think it should be based off friendship? And she knows her children so
Yes.
well. She picked up on
Yes.
that from him so quickly. And then her trying to like circle back the next day and be like, "Hey, that conversation that we were having,
Mhm.
is there anything that you want to talk about in regards to it?"
Yeah.
And then she's the one who really kind of like pushes him and is like, "Hey,
Mhm.
like, oh, by the way, Penelope is going to be getting engaged tonight. Just
Like,
throwing it out
FYI,
there."
if
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
I
a
Mhm.
love it.
when I even love that she didn't even make it about if you wanna stop it, it was just like, "Don't you wanna see your handiwork?" Like, she's so
Mhm.
coy about it. I was like, "You
Yes.
Mhm.
just played it so good."
Yep.
I
I mean, she's
love
been
Mhm.
doing it for a while. She's got lots of
Yeah.
She got a lot of
experience.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, I think it's funny all the little terms that the guys use to cover up what they're really doing. Like, oh, we could use some revelry. And I'm like, ooh, what does that mean? Is that like a distraction? Like a distraction? And like proportion, what does proportion really mean? And I'm like, oh, you guys are dirty. You guys and your dirty
Yeah.
things trying to
They're
make it
being
like
coy.
you
Yeah.
guys trying to be clever. It was so cute.
I know.
Um, in the library, that Lord Fuller's library, that had just opened, he had been like doing his collection for a long time. I love that in most books, there is like a whole library scene, whether it's like in someone's private room, it's like this little rickety shelf that just has a few like precious books, or like this
Mhm.
really grand library. I love that when authors write about things like that, there's usually a library
Yes.
involved because we all love
Mhm.
books, right? That we all write about what we love, and there has to be a
Mhm.
library in it, right?
It
Um,
also was a good library. I liked it. I
yeah.
liked that there
Mhm.
were books everywhere. I loved it so much.
hmm
Yep.
hmm But
Speaks to
in the
me.
library, I think that's when Lord Devlin decides, or like kind of confesses that he's like, yeah, how does one propose to someone who doesn't have any male relatives? And how do you, what kind of books do you like? And can, what, but how? What would she say if the mom said yes, that I
His
could
third
propose?
person speak, I died.
Mhm.
I thought it was so cute. And then I
It was
loved Penelope's reply. She's like, I guess you would have to read the book to find out. I was like, oh, damn. It was cute. It was cute. And
Mhm.
I was like, I don't think I could be that quick witted
Mhm.
with a response like that. But
No.
No, but it showed, like, how comfortable she was with him. I feel like that she
Yeah.
was able to be that elusive and, like, coy, and I feel like if they had gotten married, they really could have had a great relationship. Maybe not,
Yeah.
again, a love, but I really think they could have had a great relationship, and it
Mhm.
showed in a lot of these moments that that could have worked out fairly
Yeah.
decently.
I
I
think
am
that,
proud of her for asking that though, because that
mm,
Yeah.
is not an easy thing to do when you're being pushed just to get married. And her whole idea was not for a love match, it was to get married. And she
Mm.
was about to get married. Like, she would have had her engagement, but she kind of put her heart first
Mhm.
and put all that aside and asked a hard question, and one that she really needed to, because that made her realize how much not having a love match mattered to her.
For
I think she would have
sure.
been okay if she didn't have the love match. I think she was more disappointed that he was like, "I don't know if I could love somebody. I have so much love for my work already. I don't think I could make room."
Which was
But
so interesting
Yeah.
because he did seem, like, so interested in her, and I know
Mhm.
part of that was, like, making sure she had a passion, but
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, he really seemed more interested than that leading
Yeah.
up to it for him to be like, 'Nope, I don't think I can ever love you.'" I was like,
right?
"Oh,
Yeah.
oh, damn." Like, I thought that was
Yeah.
kinda cool from him, and I
Mhm.
hadn't really gotten that up to that point, which again is kind of probably why him and Cressida will be 10 out of 10. But
Yeah.
I was just like, "Oh, I was really bummed in that moment because he really had been pretty good up to that point."
Mhm.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised by that response
Yeah.
also. I wasn't expecting that at all.
No, he
Mhm.
just wasn't acting quite like that, I feel like, up
Mhm.
to that point. But, I mean, that's why it's a little bit more of a gut punch, I guess, like,
I
you
know.
thought there was potential, and then he's like, "No potential here."
Speaking of love matches, so John Sterling or Lord Kilmartin, he is walking through the town and Francesca and Violet are walking and Francesca like runs to him and she's like, "Oh, hi. What are you doing? You left so soon after coming to call on me." And he's like, "Well, someone else came. I don't really talk
I
a
love
lot. But do you like that music over there?" And she's like, "No, it sucks. It needs this and this and this to be changed." And then he like dashes away, and you could just see her little heart just like breaking right then and
Crushed.
there. So sad.
Mhm.
Well, and then she had also made the comment about, "Oh, is like, are you trying to be polite and stop us?" And he's like, "You stopped me." I was just like,
I
"Oh my god,
know. Yeah.
I love him." He's so just
I
like, "What?"
Who was I don't remember who I was talking to, but I don't think it was either of you. Were saying that they really didn't like him and they didn't like the way that he treated her during that scene and that he didn't seem super interested. And actually, the vibe that I'm getting from him is that he is more like neurodivergent. So, not taking like the typical social cues, being more direct, liking his solitude, being very into one thing, which I think is going to be music,
Mm.
is going to be like composing, being very intelligent in that aspect, but yet just not having quite those typical social cues, which I think speaks to her a little bit too, because she might not quite be that way either. But I don't think that he really was being rude. I think that's just who he is. And
Mhm.
it's just kind of a part of his quirk. And that's why he's so kind of shocked at the ball when she is like, well, it didn't
Mhm,
seem like you really
standoffish.
wanted anything to do with me. And he's like, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He just got in his mind. She gave him a good idea and he needs to go execute that idea immediately, which is what he did. And he composed music for her that was exactly the way that
I
she
loved it.
had wanted it. So I think that's like a special little quirk about him. And I mean, I don't know if he's that way in the books or not. Obviously, I will read them eventually, but it could also be a way of Shonda Rhimes trying to incorporate just another aspect of having a very diverse
Mhm.
cast and representation and whatnot. Like, so I loved it.
I like him. I didn't think that he was rude at all. I think that Francesca was just so excited to see him. Like, that's the first person she's truly shown interest in,
Hmm.
and she did not she doesn't know what to expect or, like, the interactions,
Mm-mm.
like, to have, but clearly that was not what she thought, and she felt a little embarrassed because he was like, "You came to me, and I didn't go to you." So, I think she was more, like, embarrassed than anything, so then that kind of hurt her feelings, but yes, at the ball when he's like, I've come to give you this, and I'm so sorry my words don't come out right. I'm not good with them. But here's my gesture.
Mhm.
I'm good at giving gifts. This is what I'm good at.
Uh-huh.
Take this. And as soon as she opened it, she's like, fuck your lemonade. I don't want it, Lord
I'm
Samadani.
going home.
I'm going home. I need to
She's
go
like,
home right now.
Mom,
Let's
we
go.
gotta leave.
And she's like,
Which,
okay, hold on. Let me go gather your brothers.
but that was such a cute moment though when she is like playing the piano and like her mom walks in and she's just like, "What's going on?" And she's just like, "He composed music for me exactly how like," and you just saw Mama Bridgerton light up. She's like, "Oh, she
It
found a spark.
happened. The
She
spark.
found a spark." Like she was so
Mhm.
excited. It was such a cute little like I'm pumped for you moment.
Mhm.
I loved it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very intrigued to see how that continues cuz again, I really do want her to still have her own season. So I just
Mm-hmm.
don't know how long they can drag it out though.
Yes,
But also if they hardly talk, they maybe could drag it out for a while. I don't know. It's
I
kind of I
know.
don't know how they're going to do it cuz I don't want them to jip her
That's kinda
cuz I
how
really
I
do
feel
like
too.
her.
I hope that she still gets her season, and this is all kind of moving kind of feels kind of fast right now, so I'm
Mhm.
worried that she's not gonna get her own season when I have heard that her book is a lot of
It's
people's
wonderful.
favorites. So I'm like,
Mm.
Yeah.
"No, you better not jip us of, like,
Mhm.
fully giving it what it needs." But I think, Brie, you might have said this, like, this could be an ideal slow burn situation
Mhm.
where it's gonna take them some time to get there.
Yeah, because they just aren't gonna talk enough to really get to know each other, which again
Mhm,
is, like, so a part of who both of them are, but at some point,
Mm-hmm.
they've gotta,
mhm.
like, ramp it up a little, and so I just
Yeah,
feel like it's gonna take time, but then I'm just also so intrigued because like, they still have quite a few to do, so, like, where how's it gonna fall between Benedict, Eloise, and her? Like, can we really wait how many more seasons for her that's where I get hung up. I'm like, "Okay, when are they gonna get to some of these people then?
yep,
Because it's gonna look like a lot of seasons have gone by, or they really are. They're gonna have to double up eventually, so the timeline makes more sense, I feel like. Because obviously,
yeah,
like, some of them are still young, like, you can push some of those out, but, like, we've got Benedict who's older, Eloise who's gonna be out
mhm,
for a couple at that point, and then obviously Francesca they've already, like, kinda given her a match situation. So I'm just like, how is this gonna play out? I'm just so
yeah,
curious how they're gonna go about that in a way that feels good for us as viewers also.
yeah, especially because they already skipped Benedict and went straight to
Yes.
this, which is out of order,
Yeah.
which not everybody loved that. So, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
I'm
Um,
intrigued.
I am too. So at the ball that Francesca leaves, the ballet dancers, first of all, so
Ugh,
good. I
love.
love the little
So good.
gold wings on the male ballet, the ballerina
Mhm.
rhinos. Oh my gosh.
God God forbid he's not wearing a shirt.
His
I
state
was
of
thinking that
undress.
whole time, though. I was like, "Oh, this is quite a state of undress for all of these proper ladies," and the
I
fact that they said that, I
died.
was like, "Okay, good. I'm glad you said that because
That
that would
was
be
scandalous.
appropriate." They're
Yeah,
Yes.
scandy.
but
So
I
I
thought
loved
they
good.
it.
looked stunning.
Loved
I
it.
thought they looked so cool.
Oh,
But in
so good.
there, when the queen is over watching her sparkle ditch the lemonade,
Ooh, the scandal.
the scandal is not working out. But Lady Danbury is talking to Mrs. Mondrich, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just can't get my husband to drop the bar. Like, how does that work?" And then Lady Danbury says, "Past lives are a dangerous place to revisit." And then the scene cuts to Violet and Marcus, and I'm like, "What past
Uh-huh.
lives? What happened? Are they going to talk about them? What is it? I need to know." Oh my gosh, I just kind of got my
Yeah, it
mind
did
started
feel
going.
like,
Of course,
another foreshadowing moment that makes me
I know.
"Ee."
Well, or do you think that she's going to tell Violet what happened with her dad? Between her and her dad?
I
Maybe.
mean,
I don't know.
I feel like they kind of know, like, but they kind of had a weird understanding there. I feel like already. I'd be kind of surprised if they opened. I mean, they could open it again, but I'd be kind of surprised. I really do
Did
think it has
they?
more to do with her brother.
When
Kind of at the end of Queen Charlotte, I feel like they had that weird hat moment or whatever at the end where like it
Maybe
was
she's just
kind of an
desperate.
acknowledgement, but like
oh.
Oh,
they
more
like
like the paper
they
hat
had
thing.
a moment where they
Oh.
acknowledged but didn't acknowledge, like we're not going to talk
Yeah.
about it, but we know what happened.
You're my dad's
Yeah,
friend,
true.
but we didn't know what kind of
Mhm,
friends. That's the thing.
Yep.
And so I don't know that they'll open that back up. I really feel like that was their way of closing the door on that,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I think it has more to do with something her brother did for sure. I just don't know what.
I'm very curious about all that.
They better address it in part 2, y'all.
I know.
I'm gonna be mad.
Yes, Kayla, drink that tea.
It's
We
like,
I
need to
love your
know.
stuff so
for the
much.
tea.
So Colin did not want to go to this ball, and then when he found out Penelope was going to get proposed to, he is running or whatever, carriaging.
Hims is also drunk. Let's talk about the fact he drunk.
He's a little hungover a bit. He's a little hungover.
Well, from the threesome that he didn't partake in?
That, that his enthusiasm was elsewhere. Mm-hmm.
He said, "Not
Yep.
today, ladies."
He's like, but do you
I got
want to
another
watch?
lady on my mind.
'Cause you paid for it.
I know. She was so ready to be like, well, we can just do it then. And I was like, all right, girl. Live your
Hey,
best
they
life.
already got paid. They're like, "What you want?
I'd be like,
We're gonna do
next,
this either way."
gotta get more money. If you don't want to watch anything, I'll
Honestly.
go. But then he goes and interrupts their little dance, Penelope and Lord Debling's dance, and he's like, I need to talk to her. And it looks like, they're gonna have like a heated conversation. Like it looks like Colin is unhappy about something and he needs to talk to his friend immediately. And then when Cressida, saves Lord Debling from social disgrace by taking over the dance, that's when she reveals that they live across the street and that's who
Mhm.
Penelope's been really staring outside the window this whole time.
Uh-huh.
And then
I know.
he confronts Penelope about it, and it's not good.
Mm-mm.
Well, and he's so good in that conversation about picking up on this like subtlety of, well, he
Mhm.
would never be interested in me. And he's like, yeah, but are you like, that's not what I'm asking here.
Mhm.
I want to know if you are interested in him. And if there was any possibility, would you take it? Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
He's like, "I'm gonna be gone, and I don't want to be worrying about my woman being with somebody else while I'm gone."
Mhm.
I
Even if I
know.
don't love you. You
Which I know he was like, be faithful, but I may never love you and I will never see you for years.
for years.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Okay then.
you're a man and you can do whatever you want, and I got to sit over here with a leaky garden. I
That's
don't
A
know.
adorable.
leaky garden?
Well,
Like, we
that's how
have
she
needs,
words
Kayla.
it.
We need some hoeing, okay? We need some
Yeah,
hoeing.
but why is your
Leak.
garden leaking?
Because sometimes when your mind goes places, things get a little wet down there. And then that's if they're not tended to, they could leak. I don't know.
Oh my god, I hate that. Leaking. Oh, they're just say you need some tending to your garden, man. You don't have to say it's leaking.
I
That's a
don't
weird
Your
way to put
garden
it.
is flowering. Let's make this a little nicer.
there are
A
no
leaky
bees
garden.
in
A
the leaking
leaking garden is not doing it for me.
Okay, fine. Her garden will need some tending to.
Yes.
You're gonna go viral for your leaky garden.
I hate it. That's horrible. That's a horrible way to word that.
Oh.
Anyhow, so speaking of leaky gardens, Colin decides to tend to some leaky
That's a
gardens.
terrible transition. I hate everything about this. Yes. He runs after her after he basically ruined her marriage
Fucking
proposal.
finally. I was like, yes, you run your ass after that carriage. Finally, you're doing fucking something, bud.
I know.
Instead of
about
just
damn
creepy
time.
staring in the corner, you got off your ass and you're doing something.
Also, he
Oh my god,
ran a
but
long
Ken was
way, and
so mad.
he was not out of breath for running from
I don't think
the
he
carpet
ran
to
that
He's
your
in
far.
great
He was right
shape.
behind her. He was right behind
Was
her.
he? I don't know. I didn't see the castle
Oh,
behind them in the whole carriage part, so I feel like there was still a distance to go.
he's in great shape, Veronica.
You're right. I did see his forearms, so
Oh my
He
God. Well,
stopped a
and then,
whole balloon.
yeah, not by himself, but that's besides the point.
It's fine. Just let it happen.
But
but he
oh my
did it for
God,
his
I
whole
loved
body.
Penn's reaction though. Like, no, you just fucked up my
You're
marriage.
my
Why would I let you
friend.
in my carriage?
I know
And he's like, please, Penn.
the amount of times Colin friend zoned her when she was like asking for help, and then she's like, "No, you can't have feelings for me. We're friends." And he like
And
was
then
like,
he was so apologetic though. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm so like you're right. Like I can't believe I'm doing this." And then she was like, "No, no, 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 no. I
"And
want to be
let's
more than
be
friends
more
though."
than friends." Yeah.
Okay. Once again, though, they're alone in a carriage as an unwed woman and man. Like, I was like, guys, the
These
scandal.
two.
The scandal. These two,
Also,
they don't care. But I also wish she made him work for it a little bit more. Because she was like, oh
nah,
no, we're friends.
she's
And
so
she
in
was
love with
like,
him.
but I want to be more. I was like, damn it, girl, Mick. He put you on the side for so long. A little harder.
Nah, she had
Make
to
him
take her
beg.
moment and run
Yep.
with it.
He had to
She was
go.
I
like,
know,
"You
make him
picked
beg.
me.
She's like,
Let's
I could
go."
die tomorrow. She's like, I could die tomorrow.
I know, but I
So
wanted him to
finger
beg
bang
a
me in this
little.
carriage right now.
I know
But
that
also, how did
escalated
she know what
quickly.
that was? How did she know what he was going to do? Are those in those
I
books
mean,
that she reads?
I definitely think she was more aware than her sisters. At least that's how it seems. I don't think she's quite as naive.
Or he just went for it and she was like, that's
But
nice.
yeah,
Hmm,
that's very
I don't
nice.
hate I don't hate it.
Keep going. I also the second time around just started hysterically giggling watching it again because I just couldn't imagine being the carriage drivers while that was
That's all I
happening.
could think about the entire time. The only thing I could think about. Literally the
I
only
mean,
thing I could think about.
I thought about it for
Especially
2
when they
seconds,
like banged
and then
when
I
they
was
made
like,
it.
let's go. Let's go.
I died. I just couldn't imagine. They're just like, you hear that? Like, can you imagine? They're just like looking at each other like, something's happening in there, right? Like, we
Hold
should
on,
knock,
okay.
right? That we arrived. She was so in it, and she even made the comment about like, well, I don't even know if anyone saw us. I was like, girl,
I didn't even know it was happening. Oh my god, I was so flustered. Hold on. Let me show
I
my
died.
shoulder.
Her reaction had me dying. Well, and then he's just like getting her back together, and I was like, that's a very cute moment. And then I could not get over when he got out and was like, why are you coming with me? Like, you
And
could
she's
have
like,
married
what?
me. I was like, God damn.
He just ruined
What?
her. He has to marry her now. Has to.
Yeah. Yep.
I know that, but also it was just a wild transition to go from their first true intimate moment to, well, we got to get married now. And she's just like, what?
But the thing is, I didn't
I,
understand.
I'm still reeling here
I know.
from what
So
happened in there.
so after, their whole like little moment, and she's like, Colin, I'm like, what are you asking him? You dropped him off at home. What do you think was gonna happen? Like, I don't understand why we're asking him where he's going, or
I
I don't get that part.
I also like that he was like, can we just tell them to keep going around the block a little bit longer? It's like, you
Yeah.
Which
fucking
is
horn dog.
funny because I did see a little like not a spoiler. I wouldn't call it a spoiler. But in the book, she says that he doesn't. I love that they reversed it. I think it was better coming from him than her.
Yeah.
Because clearly she was in it. Homegirl was enjoying herself.
Obviously.
So I just love that he was like, why can't I keep going? And I was like, yeah, that's hot.
Because then
That's
it
hot
shows that
'cause
he was
you're doing
enjoying
that for
himself.
her right now.
Yes.
Yes. I loved that switch up. I was like, that was a good one. That was a
Mhm.
Yeah.
well thought out rearrange there in my mind.
Yep.
I loved it for sure.
I feel like the next part's gonna get ugly.
Did you see any
Yeah.
previews for it?
Well, I watched the preview like at the end of that.
Yeah.
It looks not so good.
It
It's
doesn't look
gonna
so
get
happy.
nope.
Well, I mean, again, he
Eloise
has
is
to
Okay.
find
coming for
out some things
blood.
still.
Eloise is coming for blood.
I know.
Well,
I am kind of nervous for it. Like,
mhm, like
mm-hmm.
how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and some people have really looked at that with a magnifying glass, and they have found some things that are interesting, I feel like, in
Oh,
regards to part 2 that I will not divulge because I think you will be bummed. But I found very interesting, and I'm very intrigued to see how that part plays out personally. Because
okay.
I'm telling you, people were like clearly pausing on moments
Oh my
in
gosh.
this preview. I know
Of
people
course
are
they
freaking
were.
psycho and gotta love it. But it was kind
Mhm.
of a big one where I was like, oh shit, that would be different. So yeah, no, I won't spoil it because I think you'll just enjoy it in the moment. And so I won't ruin it. But I will
Thank
probably
you.
circle back to this and be like, so this was the moment I was talking about that I didn't want to ruin for you guys because I've been stewing with it for too long now. Just need part 2 to come out so I
I
know how
We
to
know.
still have so long.
I don't
2
So
weeks or
know.
long.
something for us.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. Sorry, guys. We film these so early for y'all, and this isn't even coming out until after part 2 comes
I
out.
know. Honestly.
Uh,
Mhm.
I
meanwhile,
am
we're just sitting
thankful
here sad.
in a way that we did do this in 2 parts though, because then it kind of like
Yeah.
drug out the
Mhm.
episodes
Mhm.
a little bit longer. It was hard to avoid all
Mhm.
the Bridgerton stuff, but I'm glad that I
Yes.
experienced this a little bit later because
Yeah, and I really did appreciate watching again, like, because again, we're not big rereaders. I'm not a big rewatcher, but
mhm,
these are just so easy to rewatch and enjoy again. And she just has all of these really good subtle moments she puts into these shows that, like, watching again, you can pick up on a lot more of. So I've enjoyed rewatching, and again, I'm just so freaking excited for part 2. I need to know what happens. I need to know how
Mhm.
things play out.
I
It's
thought it ended on a very good cliffhanger, um,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and
yes, that was well done.
I am very much looking forward to the next episodes, even though per the previews, there's going to be a lot of conflict, and I'm not excited about that at all because
No, but it does
she's
make for good viewing.
it sure does, man. It sure does. But man,
I
Penelope,
mean,
she needs to catch a break.
I
think
know.
of Daphne and the Duke. Their post-wedding
Uh-huh.
was rough
Yeah, it
for a
was.
Mhm,
while. They
mhm.
literally like didn't talk to each other for like a hot minute, like hated each other again.
Yeah,
And
but that
then
was just
same
between
as
them.
Queen Charlotte.
Yeah.
I know.
This
Yeah,
is
it's gonna get gnarly.
this is a lot. This is like your whole family, not your whole family, but like the people you love and actually care about against you. And
Mhm.
that hurts a lot. So,
Yeah. When everyone else in the family is probably going to be very excited, other than Eloise, because this is someone that's been a part of their family for so
mhm.
long. So they're going to be probably a little confused because no one's going to probably have known, other than Violet, that he was even interested in her.
Yeah.
But like a happy coincidence that she can now officially be a part of the family. But then with Eloise's reaction, it's probably going to be super confusing for them also because
Do you think that they're
yeah.
actually going to reveal who Lady Whistledown is? I know that that's like the big thing about like the next coming episodes, like trying to find out who she is, but do you think they'll really reveal who she is?
I don't feel like they do in the books. I don't think they do.
I don't think that
But
they
maybe
will. I hope they don't.
mm-mm.
And if they
I mean
do, I
just
hope she continues to be Lady Whistledown with the fact that Eloise and Colin have made their peace with it, and that's just what it is.
yeah. Hey, maybe he'll be Mr. Late. What am I trying to say?
Whistledown?
Mr. Mr.
Lord
Whistledown.
Lord
Lord.
Whistledown.
There we go. Lord Whistledown. I like it because he's a good
I
writer
mean, he's
too,
a great
so.
writer. You know, they could have a fun little back and forth.
Yeah.
He is a great writer. Oh, I forgot about
I know.
that.
I still want her to be privy to more of that.
Hey, maybe on their wedding night, that'll be like their foreplay.
Oh,
He
God.
can read his dreams to her.
I know she didn't get to read any of his other journal entries, did she?
Not yet.
No, I'm very excited to see. Well, because I know something that was big to her was showing her skin. And so I'm very excited to see how they do lay out these sex scenes. Cause I mean, obviously that's where we're going. But I'm very intrigued because she was very big about, no, I want to show my skin. Like, I understand I'm more voluptuous and fuck everyone and gonna show it. Like, she was the one who really wanted to be more upfront about that and make it more of a common thing for even curvier ladies to show I'm here for it. I'm like,
I didn't know that.
yes,
Yeah.
girl. Yeah,
I love it.
it was like in an interview or something that she talked about, like it was kind of at her request to show more skin. And I was like, I love that.
Oh,
Mhm.
I
I
love
thought it
that.
was opposite, where she didn't want to show the skin. You know, she didn't want to show
No,
these skins.
No, my understanding is she's kind of saying F you to those who have criticized her body. And she
Good for her.
said, show more skin. And I don't know, I just really love her as a person. The more I watch her and get to know her as a person, I'm like, I
Yeah.
really enjoy you and am very intrigued by you and want to see you succeed. Cause I just think you're a really great actress and
Yeah.
I love what you stand for. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it.
I agree. All right, you guys, that is it for today. We hope you enjoyed watching Bridgerton. We will be releasing the next podcast 2 weeks from today, July 5th. We will continue diving into all things Bridgerton Season 3, but we'll be transitioning to Part 2. Also, if you like what you hear, then please share it with your friends. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, Book Besties.
Bye.
Bye.